I think early on you chose The Legend of Zelda as one of your games. But then I saw an interview you did recently, and you guys were talking about the latest Zelda game in 2023. And you basically said that's the top game. Unless something else comes out, that's the top game for you. What is the lasting legacy of the Zelda games? Why is that game so consistently? Because we're talking about a game that's back in the 80s to today that still keeps getting better. So what's the lasting legacy of that game?
The legacy of that game, even going back to the original on the NES in '87, it's the sense of adventure that it's able to communicate through its gameplay. What was so cool about that game at the time was that you could just go wherever you want and just kind of just figure out what you have to do, just sort of using your senses. And there was it was non-linear in a way that people hadn't really expected from games before. And as the series went on, it sort of lost a little bit of that, even while getting kind of bigger, and its puzzles got more elaborate and stuff like that. And its presentation got more cinematic, but it lost a little bit of that sort of adventure non-linearity. So what people have really appreciated about Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, that was kind of the first of this sort of rebooted series, that it really brought back that freedom in a big, big way of like, you can really just go do whatever you want and figure it out however way you can think to do it. The way that they have, like the elements interact with each other of like set this whole like field on fire and just kind of get the enemies all, confused and whatnot. And in this new game, the way that you can like combine like people making like their own vehicles and mech suits and junk using like, the creation tools in this new one. It's really creative. It really encourages player experimentation. And it really encourages people want out of a video game a lot. They want a lot of agency. They want to feel like what I want to do, the game allows me to do it and is encouraging me to do it. And Zelda has been doing that, since for like 30 years now.
So when you have a game like that, how long does it actually take from the original conception of it to the finished product? How long does that take?
Like on the behind the scenes on, you mean?
Yeah.
It depends on the scale of the game. They announced Tears of the Kingdom in 2019, and I'm sure they've been working on it before they had announced it. And Tears of the Kingdom's a unique case in that it's building on the work that they had done for Breath of the Wild. It's using a lot of the same technology. So even that wasn't really starting totally from scratch. And then Nintendo is also just in a unique position in that they've had people who've been working at that company for years and years and years. So they have all this institutional knowledge that they can bring to all their projects as well. So that is also kind of an advantage they have. So it depends on the circumstances. An indie team of students is going to need to do a lot more experimenting than an indie team founded by like a veteran from a big company. Or a game that, again, is building off of a previous game is going to take less time than a wholly new project. But these days, games are getting just longer and longer and longer to make. And I actually think that's kind of a problem.
Why is it a problem?
Because, again, it makes them more expensive. And it makes the whole situation more desperate where they really needed to do really well to justify all that time they spent on it. And it just, I think it can stifle creativity a little bit. It means that they have to make it kind of more like broad, like make it as broad as possible to make sure that it hits. And it leaves them also a little less nimble, I think. We just had Starfield come out, and that's a game that's been in the works for years and years. And you can see in that game where they were taking influence from games that came out, like No Man's Sky came out in 2016. And you can see the influence of that game in Starfield. And you can see, like, when that game came out years ago, they're like, oh, we should look at this and put this in our game. But now it's been so long since that game came out that it makes Starfield a little dated in that sense.